Hey there, my name is Jake Malbeck. I live in Chatham County, North Carolina, and it is May 13th, 2023. We are asking for help getting information out to the public, not only for our benefit, but also to alert the citizens and future citizens of Chatham County of the risks involved with building in this county. Chatham County approved the construction of our new home, which is structurally compromised and has over 30 building code violations. My wife, Anita, and I have stayed quiet about this situation for nearly 3 years now, allowing the parties involved time to do the right thing, the construction board to take action, and for the legal system to prevail. None of this has happened yet. Here's our story. My wife and I worked hard to save our money for 10 years with the goal of building our dream home. With careful planning and saving, we bought a piece of property to build our forever home, a place where we could raise our 2 daughters. We hired Lindley Builders Incorporated, owned and operated by Jeremy L. Lindley of Pittsboro, as our contractor. At the time of the build, Mr. Lindley was a licensed general contractor in the state of North Carolina and had a general contractor's insurance policy through Farm Bureau. We also paid Mr. Lindley to draw our house plans, which he submitted to the Chatham County Permitting Department. The non-engineered house plans were approved by the county, and he was issued permits to begin the project. There were some issues throughout the build, including a partial foundation collapse. We were assured this was a freak accident, and the foundation was repaired and construction progressed. To our knowledge, everything was back on track as the construction passed every inspection without a single failure per the Chatham County Inspections Department. The certificate of occupancy was issued on June 11th, 2020, which allowed us to close on our mortgage loan and move in the home. After moving in, we immediately began experiencing problems, including serious structural movements, along with other poor workmanship issues. After months of Lindley Builders failing to correct or identify the cause of these issues, we began reaching out to private inspectors, engineers, and other contractors. In the early part of 2021, we were only beginning to discover the severity of the issues with our home. I reached out to Mr. Lindley on multiple occasions requesting a copy of our house plans. Even though Mr. Lindley was paid in full for the creation of these plans, we never received a completed copy. At this point, we contacted the Chatham County Inspections Department for assistance. I requested a copy of our house plans from the county, but was informed that they didn't have a copy either. According to Chatham County officials, the plans submitted to them during the permitting process were lost. We were later informed by Chatham County that Mr. Lindley had lost our house plans as well. This made coming up with a solution for the numerous structural problems even more difficult and costly. Very early on in my communications with the county about our house problems, I was unintentionally forwarded an alarming email sent from Director of Central Permitting, David Camp, to the Supervisor of the Inspections Department, Larry Meadows. The email informed Meadows about our situation and read, "The framing issues appear to be fairly serious, and this was done recently. Obviously, be careful of anything you say to the homeowner." Mr. Camp would later claim that this statement was taken out of context, but it seemed pretty clear to me that the county did not have our best interests at heart. I made several attempts to contact the county manager, Dan LaMontagne, to report my concerns of misconduct. My numerous emails and phone calls were ignored, and we have still not received a response from the county manager. Supervisor Meadows made multiple trips to our home to investigate and eventually identify numerous code violations and structural issues. As the seriousness of the structural problems came to light, I reached out to Director Camp on multiple occasions to inquire about the safety of our home. I would later obtain emails subpoenaed through court-ordered discovery requests from Director Camp to the county manager asking how to respond to my concerns. This is a portion of the director's emails to the county manager. He keeps asking, is his home safe? What I can do is write him back and state that as of the date that Larry investigated his home, that he did not feel his home was unsafe, meaning that the failure was not considered imminent or extremely likely to occur soon, weeks. I would also add that his home is likely to become unsafe prior to the expected useful age of the structure if the structural repairs are not done. Any advice on how I should respond to Malback is welcome. It doesn't sound like my family's well-being was Chatham County's top priority. Mr. Camp never communicated to me that he thought our home was likely to become unsafe. Maybe Director Camp should have referred to his department mission statement, which includes the safety of our citizens. Why was Director Camp colluding with the county manager to conjure up a strategic response to save face and avoid liability instead of giving me an honest and straightforward answer? In March of 2021, the county requested that Mr. Lindley hire an engineer to draw and submit a plan to make repairs. Mr. Lindley expressed his intent to cooperate, but after months went by, never followed through. At this point, due to what I feel was negligence from all parties and the unwillingness for anyone to take responsibility, I filed formal complaints with the North Carolina Code Officials Observation Board. They investigate complaints against all building inspectors in the state. The first complaint was against County Inspector Danny Gunter, who signed off on the majority of our inspections. The second against Director David Camp for his alarming directives to Supervisor Meadows. This investigation was led by State Investigator Whittington. I would later be informed that Inspector Gunter was no longer employed with Chatham County due to certification issues, and the State Review Board had blocked him from being able to reapply for his certification as a building inspector. To my knowledge, Director Camp was not held accountable for any wrongdoing. Through the County Inspections Department, multiple state agencies, and our hired private inspectors and engineers, over 30 building code violations have been verified in our home. During trial, Investigator Whittington testified that our home was one of the worst he had ever inspected. It is suspected that more violations would be discovered through demolition of wall and floor finishings, but such demolition isn't feasible while we are still living in the home. The issues are present in practically every aspect of construction, from the footings to the foundation, framing, and even a large portion of the roof would need to be removed and rebuilt. The structural movement of the home has caused lots of other issues like cracking sheetrock, damaged and hump flooring, improperly closing doors, leaking plumbing, and cabinet separation from the ceiling. The quotes we have received to make repairs for these issues have far exceeded the original cost of the house, and of course, do not include the amount we've spent on legal fees, private inspections, and other expenses. In fact, the majority of contractors that have assessed these issues have recommended that the best solution would be a full demolition and rebuild of our home. Chatham County's permitting department should have never approved the inadequate house plans, which also should have required an engineer's approval for the architectural materials that were used. It's plain to me that if competent inspections had been done by Chatham County officials, these issues could have been identified and corrected at the very first footing inspection. Had competent inspections been done, we would have been alerted of major issues as they occurred, and we could have stopped construction and even evaluated the competence and our trust of Lindley Builders. Instead, inspection after inspection passed with flying colors all the way up to the issuance of the certificate of occupancy. I have been informed by Farm Bureau, the insurance provider for Lindley Builders Incorporated, that his general contractor's policy does not cover negligence or poor workmanship. So, Farm Bureau denied a repair claim against Lindley Builders policy. I was informed that our homeowner's policy, also through Farm Bureau, will not cover any of the needed repairs for the same reasons. Farm Bureau also informed me that in the event of a structural collapse due to the negligent construction that they would consider it a pre-existing issue and deny coverage for those damages as well. In April of 2021, I submitted a formal complaint against the Lindley Builders Incorporated with the North Carolina Licensing Board for General Contractors. In June of 2022, they conducted their investigation and the Contractors Board found probable cause to conduct a disciplinary hearing. At this point, almost another year later, a disciplinary hearing has still not been scheduled. Nearly 3 years after the completion of our home, Lindley Builders has been found liable in Superior Court for breach of contract and breach of warranty. We have been awarded a civil judgment against Lindley Builders, of which no money has been recovered and payment remains delinquent at this time. Shockingly, as of now, Lindley Builders is still building houses in the state of North Carolina. Chatham County was also a defendant in our civil lawsuit, but was granted sovereign immunity by a judge during a hearing, which essentially means we're the government, so we are not going to allow you to sue us. This, despite the fact that according to the Chatham County's 2020 financial statement, the taxpayers are funding an insurance policy for this type of incident. By state law, the county waives immunity automatically with the purchase of an insurance policy. Why are the taxpayers of Chatham County paying for an insurance policy that apparently can't have a claim made against it, or at best doesn't cover everything the county claims? Why are we, the taxpayers, funding this insurance policy if the county has immunity? How can Chatham County force you to pay for their inspection services while having no obligation to conduct competent inspections, leaving the residents of Chatham County no recourse for harm caused by its negligence? Our certificate of occupancy issued by Chatham County states that this home complies with applicable building code and grants permission to occupy the residence. Where is the accountability? Where does this leave our family? We are stuck living in a quickly deteriorating and unsafe home, spending an enormous amount of money not only on engineers, but now on ever-growing legal fees. We legally built a house with a licensed and insured contractor, with approved house plans, with Chatham County permits, and with all required inspections performed by Chatham County. How can this happen? These permits and inspections were not optional. The county and state require by law that we obtain these in order to build. We were forced to pay for their services, but what did we receive for our money? It surely wasn't thorough, competent, and adequate inspections. It is my opinion that the negligence from Chatham County allowed this unsafe construction to be approved and therefore allowed us to close on our mortgage loan for a home that is unfit and potentially dangerous to occupy. We still must pay Chatham County the full price property taxes on a house that is basically only worth the land it sits on. Now we owe hundreds of thousands of dollars on a new house that we are upside down on and couldn't sell if we wanted to. Who protects the homeowner? Our home has a compromised foundation and insufficient framing. Our engineer has warned that a structural failure is a possibility. Judging from the emails, it seems that Director Kemp also thinks a failure is possible. Where do we go? We can't afford to pay for this mortgage and rent or buy another house. Everyone knows Chatham County is growing very quickly, with new companies coming to the area like VinFast, Wolf Speed Manufacturing, Toyota's battery facility, FedEx shipping hub, and of course, the huge Chatham Parks project. These will bring thousands of new residents to Chatham County, many of whom will be building or buying new homes. I urge anyone considering building or relocating to Chatham County to be very cautious when dealing with not only their contractors, but also the Chatham County permitting and inspections departments. Maybe commuting from a neighboring county would be a safer option until reforms are made. The reforms should start with the Chatham County permitting and inspections departments. I believe an investigation into the legitimacy of the county's insurance policy and its funding would be appropriate. Also, there should be a more professional response to allegations of misconduct against county officials and employees. It's time for Chatham County to be held accountable and make this right. We need our home repaired and made safe for our family. Stop hiding behind your so-called immunity. The county has an insurance policy. Offer my family and any other families in a similar situation a real solution. I hope that our experience will encourage Farm Bureau to stop offering insufficient general contractors insurance policies that do not protect the homeowners. We'd like to see a faster response from the Contractors Board when allegations of misconduct are reported against a contractor, instead of allowing them to work for years unchecked. My goal is to get this fairly resolved and make sure no other family has to endure the heartache, uncertainty, and financial burden that my family and I has suffered for all this time. Signed, disappointed, lifelong Chatham County resident, Jake Malback.